The Power of Fate, What an Environmental Study Reveals. All on this edition of the Pest Geek Podcast.
Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek Podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek Podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to the daily edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. I am your host, Frank Hernandez, here every day discussing all things pest. Hey, we're going to be discussing the power of fate and what an environmental fate study reveals. Now, I know that by just mentioning the topic, 90% of you are turned off because what you're thinking about is we're going to be discussing how it contaminates the water, it contaminates the fish, it contaminates, the soil, it's going to destroy the earth, and we're going to have an apocalypse. No, what I'm talking about is understanding how your products behave in every type of environment to know and be able to predict a predictable, reliable service for your client. Here's why I'm telling you this. The internet is awesome. Groups are awesome. And I monitor groups, and I'm in about, right now I think that I monitor about 20 something, 30 groups, and all different, by the way, in all different fields. Because one of the things that I do is I seek to gather data, interpret data, transmit it, and then use it to be able to effectively sell our products and services, whatever that is. Okay. And what I need to know as a professional is I need to know exactly how my products, all of my products, behave in the environment. If you call yourself a professional pest control person and you don't have the faintest clue of how your product behaves in the environment, you're not a professional. There's no such thing as a professional, a doctor that prescribes a medication and doesn't know the potential side effects or what to look for when something is going wrong. There's no such thing as a professional. If I told you that I was running a $20 million website and that I didn't know exactly what my traffic was, exactly what pages had problems, exactly what's going. I mean, forensic work in SEO and in web development is vital to understanding. A lot of people just are entering this field. I'm getting off topic here for a minute because I'm going on a rant. Are getting into this without the faintest clue of what the hell they're doing. But I've been in many technical careers where information and accurate information is vital. Yet I've been in this industry now for 11 years, and one of the things that just flabbergastes me about this industry is the amount of people that are in it calling themselves pest control professionals, and they have no clue what they're applying, why they're applying it, and using it for that pest. And they say they have 10, 12, 15, 20 years of experience. Guys, the world laughs at us sometimes when we walk into a building and they tell us, yeah, I want a monthly every door service, and what is your price? And we say, it's $2 a unit. And we go do it. And nobody understands what we do. Nobody understands how difficult this really is. And what happens is the marketers have more influence over people than we do, the real professionals. You really, guys, if you're listening to me, this podcast is dedicated to pest control training and information about real pest control. Not the stuff marketers are putting out there. Not the stuff that the top 10 companies are conditioning the market to think and feel. Because this is just really, we all of us independents have to react to what the top 10 companies are doing around the country and around the world now, because now it's a global. In case you didn't know it, one of the largest European company owns a huge chunk of American companies here in the U.S. and vice versa. The power of fate, understanding how that product behaves. Why? Because you'll go on a group and somebody will say, I've got this product and it works great. And another person, I tried it and it's junk. How can the same chemical give you two completely different results? The same active ingredient. And the reality is, the person who's applying it has no clue of how that product is behaving in their environment. I'm going to give you a little example. I live in Florida. Florida has what is known as calcareous soil, meaning it has an extremely high content of calcium carbonate. Very alkaline. Here in Miami, it's in the 8.5 to 9 range sometimes, close to there. Probably around 8 to 8.5. Our water comes out anywhere between 7.5 and 8.5, depending on where you're at. Many people here have wells to irrigate their landscape, which is carved out of a rock usually, far down, and that rock has the calcium carbonate in it. So our water is extremely alkaline. Water well coming out is coming out at 8 point something. Okay. We don't have organic matter in our soil. We have sandy soil, which can potentially leach very easily. The way that the same active ingredient is going to behave in our environment is completely different than that product is going to behave somewhere in Connecticut. We have two different soils, two different waters, which makes that product extremely sensitive in one place and stable in the other. And I'm going to pick on one chemical today, which I happen to have a ton of experience in because I've been using it for a very long time. And I did a lot of studies on this product, figuring out where it would work, how it would work, on what plant, which one it would work on best. And what I found is I can use this product on one plant and get 12, 15 months of control. And I can apply this product on a different plant and get a maximum of 90 days of control. Did the product fail? No, the variable is the plant. The plant metabolizes that product and uses it differently. The half-life in that particular plant is different than in another. But that's 11 years of testing and doing things with different plants. What you will learn from an environmental fate study is exactly how your product works. What the manufacturer is not going to tell you. They're not going to tell you this. You're not going to get into this discussion because, that is such a wide range. And what you need to do is you need to pull a soil analysis from your property. Because where do you apply most of the products around the property? On the soil. Whether you're doing a perimeter treatment, whether you're doing a soil injection, whether you're doing a trenching, how long is that product really going to last? You'll be shocked that fipronil in Australia doesn't last as long as it does here. How long is that product really going to last? How much residual do you really have after 10, 15, 20, 30, 45, 100 days? How much? Second of all, we have in South Florida, we have this construction called block construction. The way you're going to do a crack and crevice treatment on the outside of this property, where there's holes and exposed concrete, do you know the pH of your concrete? It's different than in a wooden house. It's going to be different. How much of that product is really going to be active in 30 days, 90 days from this? This is why people tell me they're doing quarterly services, and I get hundreds of clients that are fed up with not getting control because people are coming here every 90 days. The only reason people are doing 90-day services is because the big companies did it, and you have to keep up. It has nothing to do with pest control. The big companies started offering 90-day services to double and triple route capacities. And we have to play along. So when you're in a 90-day service here in Miami and you've got 10 to 20% callback rates because you're doing what somebody else told you to do somewhere on a forum, somewhere on a group, or because you're copying what your company used to do in Alaska, in a humid environment that's 365 days a year of heat, we have no overwintering of pests. I'm telling you about my experience. And you're comparing it. And when the customer tells me they're coming every night, they're never going to control that ant. They're never going to control that species on a 90-day service on that type of property. What companies, large companies are playing is the insurance game. What are the chances? And if it doesn't work for that client, well, we just drop them and we find another client that it works for. But, it's the insurance game. It's we're betting on the averages. Nothing that is done in pest control out there today by large companies has anything to do with real science. It doesn't. You can't look at the service that they're providing. It's all about sales and marketing. They're selling what people want. I don't want to pay every month $65. I'd rather pay $99 a quarter. And if you bill me monthly at $29, you condition me to pay it all year long. It's marketing. It's sales strategy. When you're doing a once-a-month service in a restaurant that is full of grease everywhere, and you're not there every 2 weeks, you're not going to get control. Why? If you're applying pyrethroids, they're getting covered up by the oil. You don't know the fate of that product, how it behaves with oil. It gets covered up. The insect walks across, and the insect's just walking across the oil. The oil isn't blending in with the pyrethroid. It doesn't just mix up in there somehow magically. So you're doing a monthly service and your client still has roaches. Why? It's part of the problem. An environmental fate study is going to reveal, it's going to be eye-opening. For instance, at a pH of 7, imidacloprid half-life will range between 33 and 44 days. At a pH of 7, at 25 degrees Celsius, which is about 77 degrees. The aqueous photolysis half-life is less than 3 hours in water. At a pH of 7. So you mix that product in the morning and you have it in your B&G at a pH of 7 at a 6% solution in 3 hours. Half of that product is gone. So now you're applying a 3% solution. Okay? This is what you need to know. What is the aqueous half-life of that product in your tank? On the soil surface, somewhere around 39 days. Here's the weirdest thing about imidacloprid. In one study, I mean, that you can pull study after study, it'll make your head hurt. in the environmental fate exposure of neonicotinoids and fipronil. Okay? The half-life ranged from 30 days, something days, to over 100 and something days. I mean, it's crazy. One study is done in one part of the country, and you get one half-life. And then you go to another part of the country, and another half-life is there. The solubility. I mean, here's another thing that we have here in Florida that you guys may not know. We have block construction with cinder blocks, but we also have this thing called pavers, and people love to pave. I've never seen so much paving in my life. But all of a sudden, you have this house that's surrounded by grass, and you only have paved surfaces in the front. Where you have your driveway and your entry doors and all that, but then everything else is sod or lawn. And all of a sudden you show up and they decided they're going to pave all around the house, and they paved every single side of that house. There's 5 foot. First of all, you have what is known as a zero lot home. Okay, and in this zero lot home, what you have is between you and your neighbor's fence, you have about 4 to 5 feet. That's it. Okay. By the way, that's anywhere between $500,000 right now and like $3 million for a house like that. 6,000 square foot lot with a 3,000 square foot 2-story home. They decide they're going to pave. Okay. Now you're paved completely around that home. There isn't a place. They got a 10-foot patio in the back. They added a pool, and now the lawn is about 3 feet of lawn in the back, wide, and you have zero lawn on the side. And now you have a pyrethroid restriction on all your labels that say crack and crevice and spot. That's all you're allowed to do to that home. It's the same thing as it's like doing a shopping center. How many products do you have that you can do on paved surfaces? 2 feet up and 2 feet out, 2 feet up, 3 feet out, 2 feet up, 5 foot out that you can pave. Now you're limited. You're no longer going to be able to do. First of all, that concrete paver is concrete. What is the alkalinity of fresh concrete pavers? It's going to be somewhere between 12, the pH, depending on the type of concrete and where it's at and how long it's cured. And you could actually end up with, 7, 8, 9, a surface that's highly alkaline. Even if you did a crack and crevice spot, you used a pin stream on the edge of that, it's going to eat it up. You see the challenges that we have as pest control people that nobody understands? That the customer doesn't understand that because you put a pesticide out there and they want a quarterly service, there's no guarantee that that product is going to be out there more than 30 days. That's where we're at, folks. This is why you need to pull an environmental fate study on every single one of your products. Yes. Do you understand the water solubility? Do you understand the hydrolysis half-life? Do you understand that depending on whether it's anaerobic or aerobic, how much oxygen is in that soil? You can go from 27 days to 997 days, depending how much oxygen is in that soil. The photolysis half-life, how much sun is penetrating that soil on the top surface where that product is? Do you know that half-life? What is the field dissipation half-life? These are things you have to answer in order to know how that product is going to behave. Do you know your soil pH? Do you realize that the lower the temperatures drop, the less active that product is going to be? Depending on which product you're using. Then you get into what are the degradates and things like that, and how much is being found and why. You realize that imidacloprid is not even allowed in New York to be used for pest control, yet the amount of degradates found in New York soil is double what is found in Florida. The amount of sites that they found it in, yet it's not even allowed. How does that happen? I mean, think about it. A product that you can't apply as a professional in New York for pest control is found in more places than in Florida where it is allowed. Makes you scratch your head, doesn't it? These are the things you're going to find in a degradate study. I've got 3 studies here for you. What is the microbial activity in your soil? See, these are things you can't answer. You can't monitor in the field. These are things you can't test for. This is why you depend on these studies in different situations. So by understanding the microbial degradation of your product in different soils, and then you can go to your state and you can pull the soil analysis that was done of the soil survey. And some of those soil surveys were done 100 years ago. Guess what? The soil doesn't change. This is what people think of soil's changing. No, the soil doesn't really change fundamentally. So, you need to know where it is, on what surface, on what pH, how, you can go from a product in a pH of 7 that'll last 29 days and in a pH of 8.5, you'll get 39 hours. I mean, it's that sensitive. So what you're applying is going to depend. I want you guys to pull these studies. There's like 4 of them. I'm going to add maybe 2 or 3 more that are really good to help you understand it. And then, go through it and do one of these for every one of your products. Once you pull the soil, once you become familiar with your soil pH or water pH coming out of the homes for irrigation, you will be able to know, that's what's going to degrade your product and help you understand that, hey, listen, we can't continue as professionals to be ignorant of these things. We can't continue as professionals to not explain this to the client. When a client says, I had XYZ company come in here quarterly and doing this. And do you realize, ma'am, that this is why you can't do a quarterly service? Now, I understand a lot of guys are doing quarterly service because they want to do the same thing. They want to grow just like the big guys. They want to sell and double their route capacity. It all depends on what you want to be on. What side do you want to be on? I got people here telling me, no, I want to do a quarterly service for my lawn. I says, listen, for your lawn, we got to be here monthly to give you the result you want. There is no way in hell we're going to be able to give you. Everybody's got an exemption on diseases on lawns. And they've got constant disease on that lawn. You got to be there monthly monitoring that. I don't have a single product in Florida that's going to last 28 days in our soil to control fungus. It doesn't exist. So pull the study, understand your product, understand your environment, understand the structures that you're working in, concrete, wood, how those products behave in all those types of environment. To be able to give you a predictable, reliable control. And if you got to switch from quarterly to bi-monthly to give your client the best service, the best results, then you're going to have to go against the tide. You're going to have to go against the grain. You're going to have to go against the current. That's what I've had to do. 9 out of 10 customers that call me have a quarterly service that's failed miserably. And everybody keeps saying, well, why can't you do quarterly service in Florida? Well, this is the reason why. So, hey, you guys, I hope you had a great one. Have a great day. Enjoy yourselves. Have fun. I will see you again tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.